Good morning, B-sides. I don't know how many times you've said that, but it's like, welcome to my presentation entitled Unmasking the Digital Shadows, OSINT and Cybersecurity Professionals. So there's a bit of a backstory to why I decided to talk about the topic. And I think it was initially sparked by an argument in the office where the pen tester was saying, mumble jumble, blah, 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 and the investigators were saying, well, this is where the real work starts. You guys just run your automated software, pull out a report and go, moo, 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 moo. So, listening to this conversation and disagreement between the teams, it got me thinking, OSINT and cybersecurity are basically joined hand by hand. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is my interpretation, my assumptions, my perception. And I wanted to share this because I felt that it's quite important that we understand we're on a holistic journey. We are there to fight the same enemy. We are there to protect not only our organization, we are there to protect our customers, we're there to provide a service, and the more efficient we are as a team with whatever we do, the better the outcome. So, a little bit about myself. I am the CEO and founder and one of the investigators for Da Vinci Cybersecurity. We have a foundation that's attached to us as well, where we do specific cases that involve children and involve the elderly that have been scammed, that require assistance in these areas. And a lot of these parents cannot afford the services. So then they go through the foundation and they request assistance. And the amount of scams these days against the elderly, well, it's growing and it's worrying because the money that they are losing has an impact, not only in their lives going forward, but on their children's lives because we're there to support our parents. And in the last month and a half, a worrying sort of case that we've had is where a parent, and I'm talking elderly parent, has given access to that person via any desk. And you think, okay, does this mean we're not doing a good enough job in education, in the content that we put out? And not only ourselves, there are a lot of organizations that put content out around education, around being safe, not clicking, and doing what we need to do. So, that's always on the board. I collect all things Batman. So I was told to put in something a little personal, but I collect things Batman, So I'm not going to tell you the dogs and the cats and all that type of thing. I'm a certified cybercrime investigator. I'm a certified cryptocurrency investigator. I'm a certified cybercrime intelligence analyst. I'm a certified OSINT investigator. I have an executive MBA in business strategy, Masters of Management in Digital Business, and I'm currently busy with my LLB and CFE, which is a Certified Fraud Examiner. Now, I never used to put this type of slide on. I never used to tell people really about myself, and then I went to this leadership course and they said, Sharon, when you introduce yourself, you're not establishing credibility. People are going to think you're just putting stuff out there. So it does, I think about it, but you'll notice that there's nothing cybersecurity up there. I'm not a CISO, I'm not a CISO, I don't have any cybersecurity certifications just yet. But there are a number of things that have an impact on business. And that is where I started my career. I started in business. I was a general manager for some of the big retail brands, Dion's before it got sucked up by Massmart, Hi-Fi Corporation, Incredible Connection, Clicks. So that was my path up. I never had a computer growing up. I initially was going to be a vet, and I buggered around, and they didn't appreciate my entrepreneurial spirit, and I got booted out. So my first job was a security guard. You know at Macro where they tick those, they check those parcels? That was my first job. And I did enjoy it because in those days we got to run around and it was like playing crooks and robbers, We were up in the roof and taking photographs, catching people shoplifting. So that's where I started my career and eventually moved on from there. But anyway, let's move on. So in attempt to break the ice and put a little bit funny in here and there, I'm going to show you funny jokes. Feel free to laugh, those of you who catch them. Just cybersecurity joke, we all do what we have to do, but in the end, human error gets us where we want to be. So if we talk about cybercrime in South Africa, our threat landscape has evolved. And we realize and we understand this when we look and we read articles and we hear about this breach and we hear about that and this company's done this and this company's done that. And then some of the organizations that we actually trust, we hear they've been breached too, and we think, oh my goodness, what the hell is going on? But it poses challenges, not only for individuals, not only for businesses, but for the teams that protect the organizations as well. Because, if you heard the initial talk this morning, we're all under stress. So how do we cope with this ever-evolving pressure, these increasing cyber threats? How do we prepare our teams to cope with this, the impact of what these breaches have? Our clients whose information is then either sold on the dark web or pasted on Pastebin or whatever a tool or sort of platform is used to get this information out. So I think the basic thing that I really wanted to talk about today is it doesn't matter what team you're on. You're all a Power Ranger. We're all there to do what we need to do. We all need to understand that we have a job to do, and the only way we're going to be effective in doing that job is if we all work together. And we understand what role we play in the cycle. So whether you're an investigator, whether you are doing penetration testing, social engineering, digital forensics, we're all on one team. And I was going to use a superhero image, but I thought this was just cute. So let's talk about OSINT, open source intelligence. So it refers to the collection, the analysis, and utilization of publicly available information from various sources. Now, when we talk about various sources, these are tools that we use that are available, and some of them are free, some of them are paid, and you might start off on a free tool, they become exceptionally popular, and in 6 months you're paying for a license. But OSINT is incredibly important. And it's important from different viewpoints. It's important for the organization and their teams to understand where it fits in the process. It's important on the investigations you do for clients. It's important for understanding the bigger picture. And the reason I say that is I'm going to give you a few examples a little bit later, but understanding that there's a holistic picture, and as the cyber team, all team members, whatever sort of part that you play, you are one team. So there's often a joke about open source intelligence and collecting intelligence. And if you sit and you talk to somebody, and you can try it today, we're all people. We all have an emotional part to us. We build our networks. That's what we're here to do. We're here to network. We're here to build our network. We're here to meet new people. And we're here to build our networks. And part of doing that is having a conversation. Part of that is getting to know the other person, because you don't do business with a person you don't trust, okay? You do business with people you trust, and you get to establish that relationship. And if you sort of just stop and think about the things that you talk about, you know, how much information are you giving away, or how much information are you sharing? But saying that, you don't want to sit like a clam and like have this awkward silence because, you know, you're too scared to share something. So sort of there's fine-tuning a little bit. So the reason I use the word digital shadows is because a lot of this information and a lot of the information that we share online, we leave traces and we leave hidden elements behind. So if you just think of an example, let's say you go onto a platform and it says you can use, let's be simple, you use Facebook, you can use your Facebook logins, okay? So you sign into this platform, you're using your Facebook logins, but Facebook had a breach a couple of years ago. So that data is available, but what you did was you didn't want to really create another password, so you used the same password. Just convenience and time, and you know, you saved it in your Google browser. Not that I'm saying you guys would do that. Not that I'm saying you guys would do that. But you leave traces behind. And whatever we do online, we leave a trace behind. And sometimes that challenge of being invisible, you know, we all think that we know where we're going and how we're doing it and what we're entering, but we're people, we're human. And sometimes we take the quickest route. And Anna spoke this morning about when she clicked on an Uber link, which was a training session by her IT team. You're in the moment, you're busy, you're stressed, you're on your phone, you're multitasking, and that's sort of real life today, because we're so busy, we're so stressed, we have a lot of things to do, we've got email to answer, you've got the client phoning, you might have one of the team members who wants something, or they want to go off early, or they don't like the coffee. So like things are really, really evolving around you, and you click on things, you know, and that happens. It happens. So the challenge with open source intelligence is it's actually a double-edged sword. Because on one side, you're using all this intelligence gathering to build your investigation, you're using specific tools, you're building this all up. The baddies are using it too. You know, if you're their target, they're using the same tools. And maybe they're using more sophisticated tools with you because they can afford to pay the licensing. You know, where we have to like really think, you know, that license, you know, they've got all the money. And they must probably paying for it in crypto, because the amount of crypto scams going around, you know, these guys are coining it. So it really is a double-edged sword, because, you know, we all have the hashtag, well, a lot of us have the hashtag OSINT for good because we want to do good. That's where we want to be. But that information that's publicly available can be used two ways. And I think with the whole conversation about those that are in cybersecurity teams today and looking after their organization, we then say to the team, have you done a deep dive on yourself? Have you had a look at what you've put out onto the internet? Have you double-checked your email? You know, how secure your passwords? And, you know, the information that comes back, especially when you search yourself or you have a look at the information out there, you think, oh my goodness, you know. And I'll tell you a funny story. We had a client, and I was engaging with the CEO, and he was, you know, these beep staff, they do this, they enter this, they do this, wada. And he says, Sharon, I want you to go out there and I want you to go and check. And every staff member you find with exposed details, we have to sort out. What are we going to do? Are we going to have disciplinary? Are we going to do this? I said, no, we're not going to do disciplinary. We're going to do training because this is a learning process. So you start off small and you teach people. No. This is what he wants. So I said, okay, let's start. Let's see what we go and find. 2 weeks later, I send him back the mail, and I said to him, you will notice I've included no one else on the email, and there's an Excel spreadsheet attached. I said, the reason I haven't included anybody else on this mail, even though you've asked me to feed back, is because your Ashley Madison logins are still valid. And your wife is on the team, so I think you need to like really sort of trying not to be judgmental and diplomatic, but you really need to clean your act up and, you know. And I got a mail back, okay, I think you need to speak to the manager going on. We'll get this resolved. But it was funny. It was funny. It was very funny, actually. So if we talk about understanding the power of OSINT, we're looking at uncovering hidden threats. It complements our traditional cybersecurity tools. It's cost-effective. And when I think about cost-effective, I just think about the licensing, and I think, oh, I don't know if that's actually applicable anymore. And you have proactive threat detection. So, yes, the cybersecurity team, whatever team they're in, plus the OSINT investigators, we all use tools, we all use software. And it can be a very cost-effective investigation, and it can be a very cost-effective service that you provide to your clients if you understand their objective and how you pack everything together. So when I talk how this fits into the cybersecurity arena, we're talking about we can enhance threat detection. We can investigate and track malicious actors, and we can mitigate potential risks, and that's quite important. So we look at from intelligence to impact. The effectiveness of gathered intelligence depends on the capacity to cause harm. So if you think about open source scanning tools like Nmap and OpenVAS and those type of things where you can scan and you can get open ports and whatever you need to do, and tools like Metasploit, you can build something really worthwhile together with the cyber team, with your pen testers, your ethical hackers, whatever team member you have. But understanding how the information works and what you can use and build a more effective package to your client, package for the organization, but it's about protecting. So when we look at open source vulnerability scanners, like I mentioned there, cyber criminals use that as well. I don't call them hackers, we call them cyber criminals because you have good hackers as well. So let's try and be precise. Cyber criminals use the same tools. And they use the information that they found to get into organizations. And you might think, it's a bit simplified. It is a bit simplified, but it is a matter of fact. So when we look at the type of threats that are out there, exposed credentials, vulnerable infrastructure, phishing and social engineering campaigns, insider threats, threat actor profiling, fraudulent activities, dark web threats, leaked sensitive information, emerging threat trends, and physical security risks. So what I have for my teams is a sort of a spreadsheet, for want of a better word, where we say, okay, this is how the OSINT teams can use it, this is how the cyber teams can use it. And it just says, okay, if you're using intelligence for this, this is how you can use it. With the cyber teams, this is how you can counteract, or you can use it to complement what you're doing. And I'm going to share a few things now with you, a couple of areas that we use as OSINT investigators. I will, once I finish that, I'm not going to go into depth how to use all the tools, but I do have a QR code that you can scan that will lead you to a page with some of the tools. And I'm not going to ask you for your ID number and your mother's maiden name here. You can just have a look at the tools. So that's what my sheet looks like, and I'm sure you can't read it, but from where you are, then it might be a little blurry. But it enables cybersecurity professionals to proactively detect and respond to threats by collecting, analyzing, and acting on publicly available material. And when you go out and you're going to have a look what's available, you'll be surprised. And don't go to the normal, just Google and go and search yourself. I mean, you could start there, but use some of the tools we provide that I share with you and go and search yourself and just go and see what's out there. And maybe don't do it at work. Yeah, maybe don't do it at work. And just go and have a look what information of yours is actually available out there. So techniques and tools. So when we talk about techniques and tools, it's not everything. And I haven't used all the fancy OSINT terminology. You've got GeoInt, you've got SOCMint, you've got HUMINT, you've got Peppermint, you've got all types of mints. I haven't used that because even I can't keep up with all of the mints that are coming out. So basically, when we talk about techniques and tools, techniques drive tools. Techniques guide investigators on how and where to use the tools effectively, and tools support the techniques. Tools make it possible to execute techniques more efficiently or with greater accuracy. So an example, integration, and who isn't so great these days, but analyzing domain ownership, and we all know you can't really see much information. And there's a nice little tool called Whoxy, WHOXY, where if you pay for credit, you can go and look at the history because they've only redacted the current. I'm not sure how long that's going to be, but learn techniques thoroughly as they're universal and adaptable, and then select your tools based on your technique's needs. So plan it out and make sure that your investigation is efficient and the investigation scope, that you actually understand your investigation scope, because when you start playing with the tools, and especially a lot of you, I think maybe ADHD, or you wake up and you're on a cooking channel, and we're busy with the investigation. So you manage your time, manage your investigation, and it's quite nice to find the information that you do. So I've just put it out in a little box about the aspect, the techniques, and the tools that you can use. So I'm not going to read everything, but it's quite a nice way, and this is quite a simplified way of just looking at tools and techniques, because that's what will drive your investigation. That's what you sort of, when you prepare your investigation, when you're talking to the team, when you're understanding your scope and the way that you move forward, it's nice to make sure that you're on track and that you keep on track. So with the tools that I will share with you, a lot of these categories are covered. So I think there's like only 3 or 4 tools. I have a start page where I use which I use with all my tools on. I didn't share it because if you had to look at it, you'll think, oh my goodness, this is the most disorganized person I've ever seen. But I understand it. So what I did was I just put some of the tools on a page, and some of the tools are really, really cool to play with. And information that you can get on them is great. It's good for investigations. It's good to build your case. And, you know, making sure that you do your investigation within the scope and without doing what's not illegal. Okay, and this is a very holistic way of looking at OSINT, but this is also a very superficial way. I haven't gone in depth about making sure that you're secure and all the normal OSINT tools. But you don't just go to the dark web and go and look for yourself on the dark web. There are practices in place, and that is being secure yourself and making sure your operational security is in place. And, you know, the dark web isn't all bad in a way. I mean, yes, there is bad information, and there is things that are for sale that you don't normally get at Take-A-Lot or Amazon. But there is some good in the dark web as well. And if you think about some of the countries that are restricted in you know, getting access to data or getting access to information, I'm still trying to sort of convince myself in that way. But I have a friend called Sam Bent, who's an American guy, and he was a bit of a baddie because he smuggled drugs and he went to jail, and he's telling me all about the good that the dark web does. But anyway, I'll put some tools there for you to go and have a look at. Okay, SOCMINT, social media intelligence, the bane of all our lives. Facebook, Twitter, which is X, Instagram, and all these type of things that you follow, but Reddit and obviously Blue Sky. And the one thing I do want to share with you is this is one of our investigative tools. And this took me a very long time to build because the tool I used wouldn't work and I had to use PowerPoint. And my little lines wouldn't line up. But this is like a sort of a attack threat map, investigative map. So when we do an investigation on social media, on some of the apps, we sort of build out the way that we're going to look at. And you'll see these that are in red are some of the tools that we use. But we sort of plot out the target person we're investigating, and we sort of build out this whole investigation on using the data that's available because, you know, and Blue Sky is relatively new, and there's not a lot of traffic on there, but there's some good content there, and this is how we'll do it. So we have this for most of the social media platforms. Well, we got it all for all of the apps that are available, and this is how we do our SOCMINT, social media investigations. We plot them out this. We look at the tools that we're going to use, and it's not cast in stone because as you're investigating, you'll find that the tool's not maybe the best tool for that particular piece of information you use, so we adapt. Okay, metadata analysis. So there's lots of ways that you can analyze the metadata, and it's PDF documents, photos, video, geotagging, websites, and I mean there's a few others that I haven't put up there as well, but you know, it used to be cool when you could go to Instagram and you could say to your mates, listen, post a picture, I can tell you where you are. You can't do that anymore. You know, like, just post that picture, I'll put your location, I'll tell you where you are, and like that, wow, you know, that's amazing. You can't do that anymore. So, but there are ways that you can get the metadata, and especially sometimes with the baddies that are doing phishing hacks and that they don't change all the document properties or they make a mistake here and there. So metadata is important. And then domain and IP intelligence. It's also a way to look at the infrastructure used by attackers, to understand what's there, how they've used it, what they've used, where the IP is. Now, a lot of people use VPNs, and And if you're patient, a VPN doesn't protect you 100%, because I'm sure some of you know that if your connection drops the real IP, you can see the real IP. So, and a lot of people only use VPN. Open source network mapping. Maltigo is quite a nice tool here, and it has a lot of sort of third-party tools that you could also bring in here, and you could do, you know, whatever you sort of investigating, depending on your scope, you can bring it into Maltigo, and it's a nice way to map your investigation. Geospatial intelligence. This is also quite nice because when you find out a person's sort of a location, you can use things like Google Earth, you can use different mapping tools, you can find out what Wi-Fi they're using. If you use a tool called Wiggle, it'll tell you what internet providers are there. So there's a whole lot that you can build into this. And when you show your pen testers this, they're still not impressed, but yeah. Okay, then automation and scripting. You know, Python, doing a lot of web scraping, that type of thing. So you can streamline and build automation. And you will know, or you will notice that I'm not talking AI, okay? There's no AI here, not at all. I think the only AI used in this was maybe some of the pictures. Okay, so that's the tools, the QR code. It'll take you to our website. And there's a few tools there that you can use, and hopefully there are some tools that you haven't used before, and you'll find that those tools are interesting and you enjoy using them. Okay, so the case study I'm going to talk about today was the client that we went into, the company with no name, because obviously we're not allowed to share company details. But we were asked to do a penetration test, a phishing test, and then cybersecurity training. And this was my favorite part. This is a tick box exercise because we're quite savvy when it comes to cybersecurity. So you all know that feeling when somebody says that to you, your eyes light up, but you don't look smug, but your eyes light up. So I'm just going to read this the way that we did it. So we looked at YouTube and Instagram videos discussing business and personal information of the target person. Now, establishing who your target person is not as simple as saying that person is your target person. You have a look and, you know, you do a bit of research and then you decide which person you'll use as your target person. And then we use various tools to confirm identity, as well as LinkedIn and media articles of the target person. And we were able to confirm email addresses of various senior staff members, including the target person. Now, there's a tool that plugs into LinkedIn. You get, I think, 5 free credits a day. It's called Signal Hire. It's a lovely tool. It gives you all the information, gives you lots of information. So we were able to confirm this target person, their work email, and their personal email, and we're able to tie the whole package together, their email address as well as their personal address. Then we found their Facebook page, we identified their partner, and we identified the granny, and the granny loved her children a lot, and she took pictures, and lots of pictures, and more pictures, and she spoke about the grandchildren. She said, this is Jack and Sally, this is a dog, and your eyes light up and you think, oh my goodness, this is lovely, and there were happy birthday messages. So with all that information, we went to Google Dorking and gave us more information about some of their marketing campaigns. So you know with Google Docking, you're able to extract certain documents that are uploaded. So we found board minutes and charity day events with emails and telephone numbers. And then we all had a glass of wine because we were happy. So we used OSINT tools, and we could tie the personal and the work email account to the target person. We could see that the email accounts were flagged in several breaches, and we were able to identify some of the passwords that the account holder had used, our target person, and we were happy. And we broke bread, and we had more wine because this sounds really easy, and not all investigations work out this way, but this was really good for us. So we examined the organization where the target person works, and we identified several cloud services by using scripts to check DNS records and open services. And we discovered 3 public web applications from the list of services that we had previously identified. And one of the 3 applications was included in the penetration test we were conducting. So what we did was we entered the password into the application's login page with an incorrect password. So sometimes when you are doing an investigation, you will enter an incorrect password to get the reset email link or the telephone number, so we could establish that the person was a registered user. But obviously the password was wrong. We went back to the client and we asked for permission, and we were able to find the credentials, and the rest is a beautiful story, because when we went back to the CEO and we said, well, this is what we're going to do for the cybersecurity training, but everybody's going to have to go through the training because this is what we were able to find. And there was no smugness involved. There was no air punching involved, but this was a very nice investigation because, like, for once in a lifetime, it went so smooth, and it was like all this information was out there. It was like, you know, the gods were smiling upon us. But investigations are not all that easy, and it's not all 1, 2, 3. There are a lot of steps involved, takes a lot of time, and you have to verify information. So when we talk about being proactive, and I'm also not popular in the office when I have this picture on with the red team underneath, but social media fortification, and this is as the cybersecurity team, making sure your business is secure as well. Continuous monitoring, vulnerability management, security awareness training, and, you know, don't do the run-of-the-mill stuff. Do spice it up a little bit. Least privilege access control, threat intelligence integration, and then red teaming and penetration testing. So it's about having the conversation and being proactive in whatever you do as a cybersecurity team, being out there, making sure that you're all speaking the same language and that you're all working together to give your client the best possible service, to give your internal team and your internal business, you know, just making sure that you are doing whatever you have to do. And then obviously no OSINT talkers. You have to have the ethical and legal considerations. So the most important thing is we do have POPI, and we have to adhere to certain regulations, and we don't just hack and crack and attack people. We only use the information that is available and is out there on public sources. And you've also got to be careful of what your scope is. So we do have people that come to us and say, can you hack my boyfriend, girlfriend's Facebook because they're doing this and they're doing that? And we say, no, that's not in our service portfolio, because that's, you know, you're being polite. And you'll be surprised. And, you know, if you read some of the posts on Facebook, These groups drive me crazy, you know, hacker for hire, hack your boyfriend's account, hack this, hack that, that type of thing. We are responsible. We do our intelligence investigations, we do it for good, and that must be your mindset, whatever you do, whatever team you're on. We do things for the better. We want to improve the current situation, and you've always got to verify. The one thing with information and the collection of information, you have to verify. You can destroy somebody's life by taking information that you haven't verified. And I'm not talking verify once, I'm talking verify a number of times. You can destroy somebody's life with incorrect information. So you have to make sure. And sharing irresponsibly is also, you know, it's share it with another team member, you're just sharing it with this person, whatever information it is, even if it's not in an investigation. You know, artificial intelligence, if you look at some of the videos and you look at some of the images and you think to yourself, today is the worst that image will ever be. Today is the worst that video will ever be. Going forward, it's only going to get better. So before you share that WhatsApp message, before you share any emotional string image, you need to have a look. And you know, it sounds tedious just verifying everything that you get or see or information around another person and that, but be responsible. Let chain letters die with you. Let those chain WhatsApp messages die with you. Okay, those images, whatever they are, let them die with you. Okay. Teaching your mom, that's another thing. And teaching your grandmother, that's like even also on another level, but be responsible. And then evolving trends. I think that penetration testing and OSINT investigations can complement each other, and you can see by my slide, I really believe strongly that they complement each other by addressing both internal vulnerabilities and external intelligence gathering aspects of cybersecurity. So comprehensive threat mapping, I mean, that will take you to the next level. Enhanced reconnaissance, attack surface expansion, post-breach analysis. I mean, for those penetration testers in the room, yes, you do your report, but have you ever sat down with the client or with the OSINT person in your team and had that conversation, sort of really have a discussion about what you found, and also with the organization, you know, how do you move to the next level? And also it leads to improved social engineering. You know, and social engineering is also something that's growing in South Africa. And you know, if you think about it, I social engineered my way into a parking slot just right outside here. And I didn't fib. I did attend GSB a few years ago, and I still have my Lanyard, which I had on, but he didn't ask me for details, and I just said, I'm coming here. And he said, please go and park over there. So it is evolving in South Africa. It's not, you know, with the penetration test that you do, very few organizations do ask for the social engineering as well. But, you know, it is becoming a bigger part. And that's where OSINT intelligence and OSINT investigations can play a part. So you can work together as one team. And then that's my last joke of the day. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm sure we haven't done the 45 minutes. I'm not really a 45-minute speaker, but that's a link to the tools again for those of you who missed. If you have any questions or if you'd like to come chat to me and want access to my need to start page, I can give you that. But any questions, anything that you would like to know? And I think one of the questions people do ask me is, because you didn't grow up with a cybersecurity background, how can you run a cybersecurity company? And there are two things: understanding business and understanding people is crucial to knowing the cyber threats out there. And obviously you do your little courses here and there, but I mean, it's crucial because people are people, and that underpins any form of cybersecurity, because it doesn't matter what tool you put in, people are people. Thank you.
Across the attack surface, scattered products and siloed views create blind spots that feel unstoppable. The deadliest risks are in these gaps, where attackers move in. It's time to unify fragmented snapshots into one all-seeing view of risk and unleash a platform born with one intention: isolate and eradicate your priority exposures. From IT infrastructure to cloud environments to critical infrastructure and everywhere in between. This is Tenable. Your exposure ends here.